All right. Well, now that I feel like I'm not dying anymore, let's get to this draft. Although first, I do want to look at the Rockies' numbers so far this season, where Walker Buehler has an ERA over 4. German Marquez has been pretty good for you guys. But yeah, for the most part, your starting pitching has also sucked, which is about right. It's been better than mine, though, which means I'd presume your lineup would be doing a little bit worse. Charlie Blackmon's still an everyday player for you guys? Jesus Christ. Nolan Jones only batting .224. That is a significant drop-off for Nolan Jones this year. Yikes. Yikes. Kyle Manzardo batting .224. 216 for Chris Bryant. Wow. So yeah, you definitely have some underperforming players at the moment. Still a pretty young lineup, though. But yeah, definitely some underperforming players. But let's do it. Let's get to this draft. Obviously, we'll look league-wide towards the end of the season. But for now, it is all about the drafts and seeing how this goes. I get a trade offer from the Twins, Joe Barlow, for first baseman Aaron Sabato. I hate to say it. I think I got to take that trade. I mean, I need relievers too, though. I'm actually going to say no to that. Could almost justify it. So let's do this. Our second drafts at the helm of the team. So what we are going to do, because again, once you get to what was it, the 4th round, 3rd round even, you only get a minute to decide. So we are going to add our draft cues just as a safety net, you know? So that is the game plan. So let's take a look at the situation here for your Rockies. And we'll see who's worth adding, essentially. Obviously, Del Harrell is there. Doesn't look like he's going to be anything too special overall-wise. Even in the future, he just looks like he's going to be okay. So that's a little bit concerning in terms of the attributes, but very, very good chance to at least be a B. Really no reason to not add him to the queue, though. There's also Daniel McVay, who, again, really strong chance of being a B. Could have great arm strength as well. So not too bad there either. Victor Marine could also have great arm strength. You guys weren't really able to take a look at him at all, which is a bit of a shame. Just didn't have time. See, the thing is, I think you could end up adding a lot of people to the queue. A lot. Even like Damian Vaughn. Ooh, could be a big power hitting catcher. Should that overall not be too low? Be potential 21 more than likely? There are quite a few catchers here that aren't that bad. Obviously, guys like Alos, Cervone, these are guys you're not necessarily going to want to take risks on by having them in the queue too early. I mean, Victor Marine is at a 67. Similar to Antoine Smith, but you do know that Marine's actually a bit of a risk. At first base, you weren't really able to take a look at too many guys. You do have Rene Villasmil, who could be decent. Could be. I mean, obviously that starting potential is not that bad. First base isn't the biggest need for you guys anymore, but that could be somebody else to focus on. And from there, obviously, you're not going to have too much information. Wes Brown could end up being a B. 23 years old, though, so if that guy's overall is low, then only based off of 10%, but your scouts love Bernardo Lopez. Yeah, attributes don't paint a very pretty picture, but, you know, again, someone like that you could add to the queue. Brian Boyer, very similar. Very similar. Second base, Mario Cortez. Second in draft rank. First on your board, apparently. Looks like he's going to be a fielding first second baseman. 19 years old. This guy could be insane. Could be. Obviously, Greg Judd. Also worth adding to that short list for now. David Morton. That overall range is absurd. That guy could be incredibly boom or bust. Tough to say. Worth adding to the list, though, I'd say. It's also William Yamashita, who, again, same thing. Could be insane. Second base wasn't at the highest priority level for either of us. This guy's overall is listed as 66 to 90. Only 8% scouted, but that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. Is there anybody else that really jumps off the page? Hank Gage, not so much. At least not for the early stages. If he's available later on, then sure. Third base, John Luis. It's also Dino Cordero. But someone who really jumps out, Felipe Alicio. I mean, that's definitely somebody to add to the queue. I don't remember how many players you can add to the draft queue either, but obviously get a basic list of promising looking players and then sort it out from there. Johan Valdez as well. Could be insane. Shortstops, Robert Bolich. Again, someone you guys weren't able to take too much of a look at, but looks fantastic. Johnny Griffith as well. We'll look for people with over a 65 for low-end potential. Forrest Blumenthal. Only an 87 max, though. Carlos Ballesteros. Could also be half decent. In left, Rafael Mendoza. If that is accurate. Could be insane. There's also Freddie Simmons. Nobody else that really jumps off the page. In center, Richard Shin. Anybody else up there? Rex Villanueva. The Villanueva. Yeah, Sammy Castaneda. Apparently guaranteed to at least be a C. It did say that Shin was injured. Like I said, this is just kind of our first little run through of seeing who is out there according to your scouts and then figuring out the top options in terms of how to sort it out. And then for pitchers, Giancarlo Ibar as a closer. Rafael Geronimo, I mean, definitely not going to put him on the top of a board or anything. In terms of outright relievers, not the best potential ranges in the world. It's a whole lot of guesswork. There is Sergio Cruz, who has a very good chance of at least being a B based off of that info. Frank Estrada could be half decent. Harold Gaucho. Looks like relievers might be worth going after towards the back half of the draft. And then for starting pitchers, Kenny Branham. That's who your scouts like the most. I mean, that potential range is risky. 19 years old, you got to look at the attributes. He's a real wild card. Obviously, Richard Rosa looks like he could be fantastic. He is 23, though. He's the #1 player on MLB's board. Orlando Cortez, very likely to be a B. Will Loftus, also worth keeping an eye on. Joe Mosin, also not the best, not the worst. That overall range is a bit scary, though. Is there anybody else with a really good range? There's a lot of, could be a D, could be an A. George Case, worth putting on that short list. That's not going to be much of a short list at this point, but there's also Josh Carlisle. Could be decent. David Perez could be decent. Is that it for high-end ranges? Yes, it is. So, obviously, Lot of ways this could go, right? Lot of ways this could go. The big question will be how to sort this out. Now, obviously, listed positions of need were catcher, starters, and relievers, right? In terms of the catchers, Del Harrell, it's tough. It's tough to say if Del should be that number one choice. Obviously, you guys will have a little bit of time to choose. I feel like this list will drop down quite a bit. But there's Del Harrell, again, 76-94, so very good chance of a B. Could be a C, could be an A, though. Daniel McVay, super low chance of being an A potential guy. Defense first catcher. And then there's Damian Vaughn, who has no chance of being an A, is very likely a B. Could have great power and great arm strength in the future, though. Again, catcher was one of the big positions of need. The problem is, his overall is not going to be higher than a mid-60 at 21. So, I mean, those are the three best catchers available. I don't know if any of them kind of fit the bill. For what you guys would be looking for. If we were to sort it, I mean, by potential, that's pretty much in order. I mean, Del Harrell is the best catcher of the bunch. For first baseman, I mean, Rene Villasmil. Overall range is a bit scary. You don't know too much about him, though. Bernardo Lopez could be insane. Ryan Boyer. It's tough to tell. Very tough to tell. A lot of second basemen potentially on the list, too. And I feel like for the most part, this was sorted out well. Ballesteros. He was the weird one in terms of overall. I mean, more than likely a C, but that overall could be really weird. Third baseman. Again, tough to tell. I think, though, for the most part, we can leave this list as is. And then adjust as we go through. So just to take a look here. For myself, Damian Vaughn. I feel like my scout... Well, then again, I didn't even scout him out. But at a base level, my scouts seem to like him a decent amount. First base, which was a big position of need. Bernardo Lopez might be the guy. And your scouts identified him and Boyer as two potentially decent options. And maybe even Pablo Sanchez might be necessary. Let's see. Anybody else here? Just at face value that I am going to have to consider. So our scouts were pretty consistent in identifying the same, the same players that are apparently high end in this year's draft. The big question is, do, either of us risk it on these guys when we don't have the most complete information? Yeah, we have a lot of crossover here. A lot of crossover on our lists. Pablo Ibarra and right. And then for the pitchers, Ibar, Geronimo. Let's see, Luca Green, Liam Roher. Anybody else? Sergio Cruz, decent shot of being a B. Gaucho was on your list as well. Estrada. Yamamoto. Yeah, it's a whole lot of similarities here. Rosa, again, pretty much guaranteed to be a B. That sucks. Of Cortez is a real risk. George Case ends up on both of our lists. David Perez is a late pick. Josh Carlisle. Okay, so what we're going to do is advance to the draft now that we both have the players that our scouts have identified as good, right? We are going to go to the draft, and that way, too, we know we only have to look through this list of players and then, okay, what position, who do we want to get? So we're off to the draft. Of course, the lottery took place last summer. So I have the 3rd overall pick. You guys have the 6th. So we start off with the Oakland Athletics. The number 1 overall pick belongs to Oakland, and they take shortstop Kurt Monroe, who was identified as the 40th best prospect by the MLB. My scouts on 5% had him at 32. So it is a reach for Oakland. The reach last year certainly didn't work out for Cleveland. So a controversial 1st overall. Washington at 2. Select Robert Bolich. Again, both of our scouts said, yeah, this guy looks legit. MLB had him at 6. He's off to the Nats. So that brings up Chicago White Sox, 3rd overall. Fuck. Who the hell am I going to go for? My scouts had Mario Cortez as the number 1, but I know nothing about him. Same for Richard Shin. The first guy that I do know about is Richard Rosa, who was number 1 on MLB's board. He is almost guaranteed to be a B with a C level overall at 23 years old. Then there's Kenny Branham, who might be a bit more of a risk. So that is the question. I needed a first baseman, and I need pitching more than anything else in this draft. Do I go in blind? Do I go in blind for someone like Mario Cortez and hope for the best, or Richard Shin, even if he's hurt? Or do I go for someone that I actually know something about? I feel like I can't risk it. I feel like I can't risk it this early. I also don't think Rosa's the guy because he's already 23 years old. It's like Kenny Branham, but man, that overall range is huge. Fuck. This isn't good. This isn't good at all. I think I'm just going to have to go for it. I mean, I need second baseman. I need a third baseman. I need a center field. I don't need a center fielder at the moment. You got Judd at second. Giancarlo Ibar as a closer. Why the hell is this guy at 61 to 85 range listed as worse than Cortez? I feel like I have to go in blind here, which scares the crap out of me. But then again, if you go in blind and you haven't scouted someone, they're going to have lower interest. It's going to be difficult to get them. I got to go for somebody that I scouted. Fuck. Oh, I'm going to have to take Rosa, aren't I? I'm going to have to take Rosa. Fuck. Ugh. Rosa, if you screw me here by somehow being worse than advertised, I'm going to take the guy that was projected number 1. I'm going to go for Richard Rosa with the 3rd overall pick. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk it. I just feel like the other picks were too risky. I feel like this is the type of player where you know he's not going to be the franchise guy, but he's going to be like a good 2-3 in terms of a starting pitcher. type of guy that you need to win, but not the guy that's going to help you get there single-handedly. I'll go for Richard Rosa. Cincy at number 4 ends up selecting Mario Cortez, the second baseman. They're probably laughing at the fucking bank that I didn't take him. And San Francisco at 5 selects Greg Judd. So that brings up you guys at 6. According to your scouts, the best player left is Del Harrell. Based off a scouting rank, Del Harrell, it's from a position of need as well. There was Kenny Branham and Orlando Cortez as starters, also from positions of need. It looks like Del is the choice here from chat. Again, Richard Shin is still there. Total risk for him. Same for Ibar. Left fielder Todd William. Any disagreement, though, on taking the catcher, Del Harrell? Any disagreement? I'm not trying to not persuade. I'm just letting you guys know what all your options are. I don't give a shit who you take. Going once, going twice. Del Harrell on his way to Colorado. There it is. Chat gets themselves a Del. Dundell. So now will be the interesting part to see who's left on the board once we get to round number 2, because neither of us have compensation picks this year. Richard Shin goes 7th to Detroit. So that's going to be the big question. Should we have gone in on blind faith for some of the top guys, or did we make the right choice trusting our scouts? Orlando Cortez goes 8th to San Diego. Fuck, maybe I should have gone for him over the other guy. Third baseman Dino Cordero. He was projected 22nd. He goes 9th to the Mets. Milwaukee at 10. Second baseman David Morton goes a little bit earlier than expected, but he's off the board. Marlins at 11. Take catcher Damian Vaughn. Damian Vaughn off the board. Second catcher to go. Boston at 12. Kenny Branham, the starter. That's the big question. Did we take the right players? Time will tell shortly. Angels take starting pitcher Ron Gutierrez, who was not projected to go until 58th, and he goes 13th. Angels think they found a guy. Cleveland takes shortstop Johnny Griffith. He was an interesting one. Both of our scouts kind of liked him, but shortstop wasn't the biggest position of need. Baltimore take starting pitcher Will Loftus. Ooh, you got the Chicago Cubs taking Angelo Madrid. Shortstop was projected 11th. He goes 16th. We'll see if they got a steal. Minnesota take left fielder Todd William. Projected 26th. He goes 17th. The Yankees take third baseman John Luis. Fair enough. So yeah, again, for you guys, it was catcher and then pitching. For me, it was first base and pitching. Joey Webster. This whole dealing with COVID bullshit and just out of nowhere. It's not quite a shortness of breath, but fuck me. Sorry for the coughing. I literally can't help it, though. Benedict Cash goes 20th to Seattle. Dave Singleton was projected 56th. He goes 21st to Atlanta. Damn. Toronto at 22. Center fielder Vern Sewell off the board. Mariners could use some cash. Let's see. Kansas City take the center fielder Rex Villanueva. Our scouts both liked him too. You also have the driest 30 of life. No, it's just a need to cough every now and then. That's about it. So, Joe Mosin off the board. Closer, Giancarlo Ibar. He was the top closer. That was a rough 2 seconds for the voice. Yeah, deal with it. Tampa take center fielder Chris Stevens. A lot of center fielders off the board. Curtis Mackey, another center fielder, off the board. On his way to Arizona. Texas takes center fielder Won Young Park. Wow. St. Louis at 29 take starting pitcher Dorian Harvey. He was ranked 81st. Wow. 18 years old, though. And the world champion Astros select Sergio Cruz. Sergio Cruz was projected 8th as a reliever. Let's see. Richard Amasa goes to Cincy, and then we'll see who Cleveland happened to take at 32. The promotion incentive. Eric Fakua. Yeah, the relievers are really starting to go off the board here. I actually do have a pick. I missed it. I have a pick in the competitive balance round. Totally missed that earlier. Dan Saenz is off the board. And we'll see who Milwaukee takes. They go for John Nishi. So, I am up again. Who the hell do I go for? The fact that showing this guy's high-end overall as a 91 is fucking insane. I do need a reliever. Nick Worth is still out there. As is Luca Green. I mean, God. Adrian Sherman might be worth the risk. Jesus. He might be. There's Geronimo as a closer. Felipe Alicio. He'd be a big risk. Him and Mendoza on the board. Projected to go soon. Is there anybody I was dead set on? I mean, it's just German. The fact it could be anywhere between a 60 and a 91 is insane. Although his pitch velocity is apparently guaranteed to be good. I do need a reliever. It's just the question of whether or not there's a better starter. Go for Cortez in the first. Go for Alicia. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I'm going to take the reliever, Adrian Herman. Might have a high overall and a low potential, but I'm going to risk it. Very boomer bust as a reliever, but he is the choice. Hoping for the best. I'll be up again at the start of round 2. You guys pick right after me. So let's sim to the next pick. Reliever William Roher, Adrian Santiago, Luca Green, Felix Sandoval, and Jerome Charles off the board. It is a time where people are going with relievers. Nick Worth is still there as a starter. That potential, or that overall range scares the shit out of me. Same for Garrison. Closer Rafael Geronimo. I'd be hoping he'd be a B if I'm lucky. Alicio, from what I know, though, that overall is going to be low. Rafael Mendoza in left could be insane. Who else did I have pinned? Obviously, I can go back and look at the list, but we did that pinned list for later in the draft. Well, based on who's projected to go sometime soon, I am going to risk it on Felipe Alicio. The attributes scare me a bit. God, but that overall, though. 50 to a 69. This is tough. Be nice to get Geronimo, even if he's not insane. There is Mendoza as well, but the fact that he could be as low as a 57, from what I know of, is insane. I did need a first baseman. No matter who I look to take there, though, the overalls are going to be low as shit. Like, they're just never going to develop. Fuck, again, it just wasn't the time to need a first baseman. Maybe go for Rafael Mendoza early. It might have to be Geronimo. I think it is. I'm going to go for the closer, Rafael Geronimo. Again, I'm going with the safe picks. I feel like it's the best option for me right now. Westy, go ahead. So, chat, you guys are up next. A lot of similar players in terms of who is projected to go next. I see Razor Sharp calling out Mendoza. Nick Worth is still there. William Yamashita is a very boom or bust player as a second baseman. Your scouts loved him, even though they didn't see too much of him. He could be the X factor. For those who were on the board, you could go for Daniel McVay to just kind of double check at catcher. And then Rafael Mendoza is there to take the risk in left. What are you guys thinking? Felipe Alicio is there as well. What are you guys thinking? Rene Villasmil is also still there. Bit of a risk, though. Have you stopped giving specific YouTube series for NHL because of the state of the game? Westy, if you're talking NHL 24, it's just I've been working on the custom roster, and it's taken forever and a day. You guys took a catcher in the first round. I need names, Chad. I need names. I've seen people mention closer, reliever. The only closer left is Daryl Kazarian. For relievers, Nate Haney is there, who your scouts love. Same for R.D. Shelley. I mean, these are guys that your scouts apparently love. There's not too much else to go off of for relievers. There is Frank Estrada a little bit later on. JD's shouting out Nate Haney. I've seen Haney mentioned. I've seen Mike Jones. Saw Estrada mentioned a minute ago. Mendoza. Yeah, looks like Haney, Estrada, Mendoza. Haney, Estrada, Mendoza. The three options. Again, Haney as a reliever, which is a position of need. Mendoza as an outfielder who looks like he could be really good. Looks like it. Or the last option, we already went past, no we didn't, was the other reliever, Stevie Mendoza. So the relievers, one of the two relievers or the outfielder, hello Crash Andrews. Will it be one of the two relievers as a position of need? Or will it be the intriguing outfielder in Rafael Mendoza? Christ, am I getting double COVID? What the fuck? Looks like Mendoza is going to get the win. Chat's going for the X Factor. Outfielder Rafael Mendoza gets the win. We'll see if that is a home run for you guys. Pun fully intended. You guys do have a competitive balance round B pick. So we will skip ahead. And the list of who is left is much shorter. So it's worth noting, in terms of starters, David Perez, overall could be low for a 22-year-old, or Josh Carlisle, who's a bit of a risk. If the overall's higher, he could be decent. So Josh Carlisle is probably the best pitcher left. David Perez, I mean, it's an argument. If you want a reliever, Frank Estrada is still there. Very boomer bust with that overall. Harold Gaucho was also there. Very boomer bust with the overall. And William Yamamoto, kind of like your lower end option. You just took an outfielder, but Pablo Ibarra is there. His overall is going to be way too low to make him worth choosing. He just is. At center field, Sammy Castaneda could be decent if that overall is higher. Freddie Simmons, same thing. Boomer bust pick. Shortstop, Carlos Ballesteros, same thing. Overall, will make or break him. There's the third baseman, Johan Valdez, same thing. William Yamashita, same thing. I mean, he could be amazing. He could be terrible. And then at first base, Boyer could be amazing, could be terrible. Bernardo Lopez is going to be shit no matter what. That overall is brutal from what you know of him. So I'm seeing Carlisle, Yamashita. All right, let's see. We got time here. Carlisle, Yamashita, Strada, Ballesteros. So let's see. Carlisle, Yamashita, Estrada, or Ballesteros. Who's Jack going to go for here? Will it be the second baseman, William Yamashita? Who again, could be amazing, could be terrible. Same for shortstop, Carlos Ballesteros. Or will it be one of the pitchers, the reliever, Frank Estrada? Still a position of need for you guys. Or the starting pitcher, Josh Carlisle. All these guys are relatively the same. Boom or bust, essentially. Yamashita wins in a landslide. So second baseman, Willie Yamashita gets the win. And it's chat's choice. Did your scouts find a gem? Let's see. White Sox up next to kick off round 3. It was Brian Lorenz, Esteban Lopez, John Ramirez, and Jason Cox off the board. I am going to continue my trend of taking players that you didn't, just to hope I can spite you. I'm going to be going for Josh Carlisle. And we'll see if you guys made the right choice or not, or if you just handed me a great player. Rocky's back on the board. In terms of relievers, Estrada is still there. Pretty much makes sense to be the guy. Hulk, I thought it was great. Yeah, chat's calling out Estrada. That won't even be a conversation. It's going to be Frank Estrada as you guys add a reliever. Let's see. The next pick will belong to me at the start of round 4. We're down to a minute to work with here. Let's see. What do we got? God help me if I have to take Wes Brown. It's looking rough from here. It is looking rough from here. Pablo Sanchez was younger. God damn. Can't believe I'm going to go for Wes Brown and just kind of hope for the best. I don't expect him to be good, but I'm going for Wes Brown. He's a little bit older, but I'm just hoping for a reliable, steady hand. So for chat, in terms of who is left, you got Lopez, Brian Boyer, Carlos Ballesteros, center fielder Sammy Castaneda, William Yamamoto as a reliever, and starting pitcher David Perez. Kind of going for filling out need right now. I see Yamamoto mentioned. Yamamoto again. Yamamoto again. Yamamoto wins. Another reliever for chat. He is a little bit older, but could be a little bit more well-rounded. We're off to round number 5. Not much left for me here either. Again, our scouts did have some different players. I mean, Ibarra's potential looks to be insane. I only have him 10% scouted, but that overall is going to suck. Oh, man. I am going to go for the shortstop, Carlos Ballesteros. See if I get a steal there. For chat, well, you got 2 first basemen that were left on the board. Outside of that, Nate Haney is still there. Nate Haney and R.D. Shaley are still there. I don't know why those guys weren't on the board. How the hell is Haley still there? Or Haney? I mean, that's the choice then. I don't know why they weren't on your board to begin with. I could have sworn we added them. But, well, there you go. You got Nate Haney late. Maybe we hit the cap limit. I'm honestly not sure why he wasn't there. For me, I don't even know. John Angelis. Anybody else? Boyer was still there. Ibarra. Johnny Vina. R.D. Shaley was there. I mean, it could be a real dick. Take him away. Carmen Madrid. Looks to be similar. Stevie Mendoza. I don't have much time. I mean, Angelis could be the guy. I'm going to go for the center fielder over the reliever because I won't be cheap. I only know about that guy because of your scouts. I'm going to go for Johan Angelis. And I'll leave the door open for R.D. Shaley for you guys. Who does look to be the best. There is Stevie Mendoza as well. Diaz, also a huge risk at catcher. Carmen Madrid. Looks like you guys are going to go for Shaley. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else that you might want to consider. There was Ibarra and Wright, but again, his overall is so fucking low at 23 years old. He's just never going to make it. Same for Chris Scruggs, unless he's in the 50s. Same for Vina. Yeah, I think you guys, you're making a good pick there with RD. So, I think you guys are good to go with RD. That was the call in chat. So the final few rounds are still very, very hectic due to the 1 minute time limit. We will eventually find our groove, I'm sure, but thus ends our second draft as we get to All-Star Weekend. You get a look at the Home Run Derby participants, including 2 of the big free agents from last year, Pete Alonso and Juan Soto, both now on their new teams, but Acuna, the home field advantage for that Home Run Derby. In terms of the All-Star game, the only thing we're really intrigued by is who our representatives will be. In the American League, Luis Garcia ends up being the starter. No shit. Hey, it's Chris Bassett. One of us could have traded for him. I ended up having Dwayne Underwood Jr. as my All-Star representative. That is something. Max Stassi also made the All-Star game. How the hell did I end up with 2 All-Stars? I ended up with 3 All-Stars. Luis Robert also made it. How the hell is that possible? And on the NL side of things, no relievers or pitchers for you guys in general. You ended up with Kyle Manzardo. You acquired via trade earlier as your lone All-Star, which is just kind of crazy. The NL wins the All-Star game, so it'll be time to sign draft picks. The big question, how well is this going to work out? The good thing is, for the vast majority of the players that you drafted, you have good starting interest. It shouldn't be that difficult to sign these guys. I mean, yeah, you're literally going to be able to send offers to most of them, including Del Harrell, your first round pick. Might as well just give him what he's worth. And he declines the initial offer, so you'll still have to work on Dell a little bit. Haney is going to be dirt cheap for you guys. He ends up signing. What about Frank Estrada? Estrada signs as well. Yeah, you guys are going to have a very easy time signing your draft picks this year. Yeah, William Yamamoto signs too. So the biggest question will just be, how well does it work out? Yamashita needs to be in that primary spot just to get the interest up a bit more, but that'll be the big question for you guys. For me, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm going to have some challenges here in terms of signing people. See if I can get my first rounder. Rosa rejected the initial offer. Josh Carlisle, hoping I stole one from you, but he declines his initial offer too. Wes Brown. Yeah, he doesn't look a gift horse in the mouse. In the mouth, he probably never should have been drafted. So he took the money and run. Carlos Ballesteros also signs. Okay. Looks like we're going to have an easier time this year compared to what we had last year. So, but yeah, I'm still going to have to work on some people, but it'll be interesting to see who got the better of that draft, because I don't have any more clarity from manual scouting than I did from auto scouting.